The sun was hot on Marcus's back as he stood straight and tall outside the royal palace gates. His red and gold uniform was neat and clean. Not a single button was out of place. For 8 long years, Marcus had been a royal guard. He was known for following every rule perfectly. The palace was busy that day. Many visitors came to see the beautiful gardens or to deliver things to people who worked inside. Marcus checked each person carefully, just as he was trained to do. Around noon, an old woman walked slowly toward the gate. She looked tired and worried. Her gray hair was pulled back in a simple bun, and her clothes were clean but worn. In her hands, she held a small white letter. "Please, sir," she said to Marcus in a shaky voice, "I need to get this letter to the Queen. It's very important." Marcus looked down at the woman. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but all letters to the royal family must go through the official mail office in town." Tears filled the woman's eyes. "But there's no time. My son works in the palace kitchen. He's very sick in the hospital. The doctors say—" Her voice broke. "The doctors say he might not live through the night. He has served the Queen's meals for 20 years. I just want Her Majesty to know." Marcus felt something twist in his chest. He knew the rules. Royal guards could not take anything from visitors. No gifts, no letters, nothing. It was one of the most important rules. Breaking it could cost him his job. He looked at the old woman again. Her hands were shaking. Her eyes were red from crying. "What is your son's name?" Marcus asked quietly. "Thomas Wells," she answered. "He's the head dessert chef. The Queen always says his chocolate cakes are her favorite." Marcus had seen Thomas in the palace many times. He was a kind man who sometimes brought leftover treats to the guards on cold nights. Marcus looked around. The other guard at the gate was busy checking a delivery cart. No one else was watching. "Give me the letter," Marcus said softly. "I'll make sure the Queen gets it." Hope lit up the woman's tired face. "God bless you, young man." She handed him the letter and pressed his hand in thanks. Marcus carefully tucked the letter inside his uniform jacket. He would find a way to give it to one of the Queen's personal servants during his shift. What Marcus didn't know was that someone important was watching him from the palace gardens. Judge Eleanor Sullivan, famous for her strict following of the law, was visiting the palace that day. She was helping plan security for an upcoming royal event. From where she stood, she saw everything: the old woman, the letter, and Marcus hiding it in his uniform. Judge Sullivan's face grew hard. She had built her career on making sure rules were followed correctly. In her mind, rules kept everyone safe, especially the royal family. A guard who broke rules was dangerous. He could not be trusted. She watched as the old woman walked away, looking relieved. She watched as Marcus returned to his straight-backed position, as if nothing had happened. "Captain Fraser," she called to the head of security who was showing her around. "Who is that guard at the main gate? The tall one on the left." "That's Marcus Donovan, Your Honor. One of our best. 8 years of perfect service." "Not anymore," Judge Sullivan said coldly. "I just witnessed him break at least 3 major security protocols. I want him in my chambers this afternoon to face charges." Captain Fraser looked shocked. "Are you certain, Your Honor?" "Completely certain. That guard just accepted an unauthorized item from a civilian and concealed it on his person. In my court, no one is above the law, not even those who guard it." What Marcus had done out of kindness was about to change his life forever, but not in the way anyone could have expected. Marcus finished his guard shift at 4 o'clock. As he was changing out of his uniform in the guard's room, Captain Fraser walked in with a serious face. "Donovan, what did you do at the gate today?" Captain Fraser asked. Marcus felt his stomach drop. He thought no one had seen him take the letter. "Sir, Judge Sullivan reported that you took something from a visitor. Is that true?" Marcus stood straight. He would not lie. "Yes, sir. An elderly woman gave me a letter for the Queen. Her son works in the palace kitchen and is very sick. I felt it was important enough to..." Captain Fraser raised his hand to stop him. "Save it for the judge. She wants to see you in her chambers right away." Marcus's heart sank. Judge Eleanor Sullivan was known throughout the kingdom for her strict ways. Some people called her the Iron Judge because she never bent the rules for anyone. 20 minutes later, Marcus stood in Judge Sullivan's private office at the Royal Court building. The room was big and made him feel small. Dark wood covered the walls. Heavy law books filled tall bookshelves. The judge sat behind a large desk, looking at papers. She did not look up when she spoke. "Guard Donovan, do you know why you're here?" "Yes, Your Honor. I accepted a letter from a visitor." Now Judge Sullivan looked at him. Her eyes were sharp and cold. "You broke 5 different royal security rules. 1. Accepting unauthorized items from visitors. 2. Failing to inspect said item. 3. Concealing the item on your person. 4. Intending to deliver the item without proper screening. 5. Putting the royal family at risk." She placed a paper on her desk. "This is a fine for 500 gold coins and a request for your immediate removal from the Royal Guard." 500 gold coins was more than Marcus earned in a year, and losing his job would bring shame to his family, who had served as royal guards for 3 generations. "Your Honor, may I speak?" Marcus asked. The judge looked surprised. "Most people just accepted her decisions. You may, but it won't change anything." "I understand the seriousness of what I did," Marcus began, "but I would like to present my defense based on the Royal Security Code of 1756, specifically Section 12, Paragraph 4. Judge Sullivan's eyebrows went up. Most guards didn't know legal codes by heart. Marcus continued. "That section contains what is known as the Compassionate Messenger Clause, which states that in cases of family emergency involving palace staff, guards may use reasonable judgment to expedite communications if no threat is suspected." The judge leaned forward. "That's a very obscure clause. How do you know about it?" "Furthermore," Marcus said, gaining confidence, Royal Decree 89 of 1823 clarified that letters from known family members of long-serving palace staff fall under special consideration, especially in medical emergencies. Judge Sullivan picked up a pen and made notes. "You seem surprisingly well-versed in royal law for a guard, Mr. Donovan." The letter was from the mother of Thomas Wells, the head dessert chef who has served the royal family for 20 years. She wasn't a stranger. I've seen her visit him many times. And the letter was clearly handwritten on regular paper, not thick enough to hide anything dangerous. The judge studied Marcus with new interest. "Most guards in your position would simply apologize and beg for mercy. You're making a legal argument instead." "Because I believe I acted within the legal framework, Your Honor. I made a judgment call, but not a careless one." Judge Sullivan tapped her fingers on her desk. She was thinking hard now. This was not the simple case she had expected. "Tell me, Guard Donovan, where did you learn to cite legal precedents like that? That's not standard training for the Royal Guard." Marcus hesitated. He had kept his past private for many years, but now it might be the only thing that could save his career. "Well, Your Honor," he said slowly, "before I joined the Royal Guard, I was a law student." Judge Sullivan sat back in her chair, her stern face showing surprise for the first time. "A law student. Explain." Marcus took a deep breath. He had never told anyone at the palace about his past. "Yes, Your Honor. I studied law at Westfield University for 4 years. I finished at the top of my class." "Then why are you working as a royal guard instead of practicing law?" the judge asked. Her voice was still firm, but Marcus could hear real curiosity in it now. "My father got very sick during my last year of school," Marcus explained. "The medical bills took all our family savings. After he died, there was no money left for me to take the bar exam or start a law practice." Marcus looked down at his hands for a moment. "My grandfather and father were both royal guards. It's a family tradition. The job offered good pay right away and honor for my family. So I joined." Judge Sullivan watched him carefully. But you didn't forget your legal studies. No, Your Honor. I still read law books every night. I borrow them from the palace library. I study old royal cases. Someday I hope to save enough money to return to law. The judge stood up and walked to her bookshelf. She pulled down a thick, dusty book and opened it. The Compassionate Messenger Clause, she said, finding the page. Not many people know about this. Even some judges forget it exists. She read silently for a moment, then looked at Marcus again. Tell me exactly what happened with the elderly woman and the letter. Marcus explained everything. How the woman was crying, how her son Thomas had worked in the palace for 20 years, how he knew Thomas was a trusted staff member. And what did you do with the letter after you took it? Judge Sullivan asked. I gave it to Lady Sarah, the Queen's personal assistant, during my shift. I explained the situation, and she promised to give it to Her Majesty right away. Judge Sullivan nodded slowly. I see. She closed the book and returned to her desk. Guard Donovan, I'm going to postpone my decision until tomorrow. I need to check some facts and review this old law more carefully. Marcus stood straight. Thank you, Your Honor. Don't thank me yet, the judge warned. You're dismissed for now. Return here at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Marcus left the judge's chambers feeling both worried and hopeful. At least she was willing to listen. That was more than most people got from Judge Sullivan. Back in her office, Judge Sullivan made several phone calls. First, she called the palace hospital and confirmed that Thomas Wells, the dessert chef, was indeed seriously ill. Then she called Lady Sarah, who verified receiving the letter from Marcus and delivering it to the Queen. Her final call was to the palace library. This is Judge Sullivan. I need all available information on a former law student named Marcus Donovan, who attended Westfield University about 8 years ago. That evening, the judge sat in her home office surrounded by papers. She had Marcus's complete academic record before her. It was impressive. He had earned the highest grades in constitutional law and royal legal history. His professors had written glowing recommendations, predicting a brilliant legal career for him. Judge Sullivan also had a note from the Queen herself. After reading the letter from Thomas's mother, Her Majesty had arranged for the best royal doctors to treat her faithful chef. The note said she was grateful the information had reached her quickly. The judge poured herself a small glass of brandy and looked out her window at the palace lights in the distance. In 30 years on the bench, she had developed a good sense for people. Marcus Donovan was not just a guard who had broken the rules. He was something much more interesting. She picked up his university thesis paper. The title caught her eye. Compassion and Justice. Finding Balance in Royal Law. She began to read, sipping her brandy slowly. By midnight, Judge Sullivan had made up her mind. She had a plan, one that would surprise everyone, especially Marcus Donovan. The next morning, Marcus couldn't eat breakfast. His stomach felt tight with worry. He put on his best uniform, made sure every button shined, and walked to the royal court building. The whole way there, he thought about what would happen. Would he lose his job? How would he pay such a big fine? At exactly 10 o'clock, he knocked on Judge Sullivan's door. Enter, called the judge's strong voice. Marcus walked in and stood at attention, just as he did at the palace gates. Judge Sullivan was not alone. Captain Fraser from the Royal Guard was there too, along with a short, well-dressed man Marcus didn't know. Guard Donovan, Judge Sullivan said, I have reviewed your case carefully. I have spoken to the Queen's staff and checked all relevant laws. Marcus held his breath. I have decided to dismiss all charges against you. Marcus blinked in surprise. Dismiss all charges. Yes, the Compassionate Messenger Clause does indeed apply in this case. Thomas Wells has served the palace for over 20 years. His mother is a known family member. The letter contained no threats. And most importantly, the Queen herself has expressed gratitude that the information reached her quickly. She was able to send royal doctors to help Mr. Wells, who is now recovering. Captain Fraser looked shocked. Your Honor, are you certain? The security protocols are important. Judge Sullivan finished for him, but not absolute. Royal law allows for compassion in certain cases. This is one of those cases. She turned back to Marcus. Furthermore, I believe Guard Donovan showed excellent judgment. He knew the staff member involved, recognized a true emergency, and found a safe way to deliver the message through proper channels once it was inside the palace. Marcus could hardly believe what he was hearing. He had prepared himself for the worst. Thank you, Your Honor, he said. Don't thank me yet, Judge Sullivan said, just as she had the day before. I'm not finished. She picked up a paper from her desk. I've been very impressed by your legal knowledge, Mr. Donovan. It's rare to find someone who can cite obscure royal decrees from memory. The judge gestured to the short man beside her. This is Mr. Harrington, my chief clerk. He is retiring next month after 30 years of service. I need someone to replace him. Someone with both legal training and practical experience in palace matters. Marcus's heart began to beat faster. I am offering you a position as my new legal clerk. You would work at the royal court 4 days a week. The pay is twice what you earn as a guard. Captain Fraser started to protest. But, Your Honor, we can't lose one of our best men. I'm not finished, Captain, the judge said firmly. Mr. Donovan would continue to serve as a royal guard 1 day per week, maintaining his position and status. This arrangement would benefit both the court and the guard. She looked at Marcus. Well, what do you say? Marcus was speechless. This was better than anything he could have imagined. A chance to work in law again, with one of the kingdom's most respected judges. And he wouldn't have to give up his family tradition of service in the guard. Your Honor, I don't know what to say. Say yes or no, Mr. Donovan. I don't have all day, Judge Sullivan said, but there was a small smile on her usually stern face. Yes, definitely yes. Thank you for this opportunity. Judge Sullivan nodded. Good. You'll start next Monday. Mr. Harrington will train you for the next month before he leaves. She handed Marcus a large folder. Here is your first assignment. Read through these case files tonight. We have a busy schedule, and I need you up to speed quickly. Marcus took the folder, still amazed at how his life had changed in just 2 days. From possibly losing his job to starting a new career in law. Don't look so surprised, Donovan, Judge Sullivan said. Good legal minds are rare. I would be a poor judge indeed if I punished talent instead of putting it to good use. 1 month later, Marcus sat at his new desk outside Judge Sullivan's chambers. His life had changed so much in such a short time. He now wore a simple black suit 4 days a week instead of his guard uniform. His desk was covered with law books and case files. Mr. Harrington had been a good teacher. Before he retired, he showed Marcus how to organize the judge's schedule, prepare case summaries, and handle the many people who came to see Judge Sullivan each day. You're doing well, Judge Sullivan told Marcus that morning. Much better than I expected for someone who's been away from law for 8 years. Thank you, Your Honor, Marcus said. I'm grateful for the chance to use my education again. Don't get too comfortable, the judge warned. Next week we have a difficult case. The Royal Treasury claims Lord Blackwood has been avoiding taxes on his shipping business. He's hired 3 expensive lawyers to fight the charges. Marcus nodded. He had already started reading about tax law to prepare. On Fridays, Marcus still worked as a royal guard. His fellow guards were curious about his new job. So what do you do for the Iron Judge? Asked his friend Robert during lunch break. I read cases, write summaries, and help organize her work, Marcus explained. It's challenging but interesting. Better you than me, Robert laughed. I'd rather stand in the rain all day than work with all those dusty books and angry lawyers. As they ate, an elderly woman approached the guard's table. Marcus recognized her immediately, Thomas's mother. Excuse me, she said softly. Are you Guard Donovan? Marcus stood up. Yes, Mom. How is Thomas doing? The woman's face lit up with a warm smile. He's fully recovered, thanks to you. The royal doctors saved his life. If the Queen hadn't sent them so quickly, her eyes filled with tears. I came to thank you properly. I'm glad I could help, Marcus said. I was just doing what seemed right. The Queen told Thomas what you did, how you might have lost your job for taking my letter. She reached out and gently touched his arm. Not many people would risk so much for a stranger. After she left, Robert stared at Marcus. You never told us what really happened that day with Judge Sullivan. Now I'm hearing you helped save someone's life and got noticed by the Queen herself. Marcus smiled. It's a long story. The following Monday, Marcus was back at the court. Judge Sullivan gave him a huge stack of papers about the tax case against Lord Blackwood. This is everything the Royal Treasury has on Blackwood's shipping company, she said. I need you to find any problems or weaknesses in their case. For 2 weeks, Marcus worked late into the night. He read every page, made detailed notes, and studied similar cases from the past. The more he read, the more confused he became. Something isn't right, he told Judge Sullivan. The numbers don't make sense. What do you mean? She asked. According to these records, Lord Blackwood's ships carried 10,000 barrels of wine from the southern islands last year. But the port records only show 5,000 barrels arriving. Judge Sullivan looked interested. Go on. I checked the weather reports for those dates. There were no storms. No ships were lost. So where did 5,000 barrels of wine disappear to? The judge thought for a moment. Good question. But maybe they went to a different port. I checked that too, Marcus said. All foreign ships must register at our kingdom's main port first, even if they later go to smaller ports. But there's something else strange. He pulled out more papers. The tax records show Lord Blackwood paid taxes on the full 10,000 barrels. Why would he pay taxes on goods that never arrived? Judge Sullivan's eyes narrowed. Unless the missing goods went somewhere else entirely. Somewhere not in the official records. Exactly, Marcus said. I think there's a bigger problem than tax avoidance. I think Lord Blackwood might be smuggling goods through our kingdom to somewhere else. Judge Sullivan suddenly looked very serious. If you're right, this isn't just a tax case anymore. This could be treason. Judge Sullivan locked her office door and pulled the curtains close. If this is true, we need to be very careful, she told Marcus. Lord Blackwood is one of the richest men in the kingdom. He has friends in the royal court. Marcus nodded. He understood the danger. What should we do? First, we need more proof, Judge Sullivan said. We can't accuse a lord of treason without solid evidence. She thought for a moment. The shipping records show which ships carried the wine, right? Yes, Marcus said. 5 ships from the Blue Star Shipping Company. They're all owned by Lord Blackwood. We need to find out where those ships really went after they left the southern islands. For the next few days, Marcus dug deeper into the mystery. He visited the kingdom's port office and asked to see all ship movement records from the past year. I'm researching for Judge Sullivan, he explained to the portmaster, showing the official letter the judge had given him. The portmaster, an old sailor with a white beard, brought out several large books. All ships that enter or leave our waters are recorded here, he said. Name, captain, cargo, destination. It's all here. Marcus spent hours searching through the books. Finally, he found what he was looking for. Look at this, he told Judge Sullivan when he returned to her office. The 5 ships from Blue Star did stop at our main port, but only half their cargo was unloaded. Then they sailed north to the kingdom of Frostholm. Judge Sullivan frowned. Frostholm. But we're at war with Frostholm. Exactly, Marcus said. The king banned all trade with Frostholm 3 years ago. It's illegal to sell them anything, especially wine. They need it for the long winter months. And they would pay triple the normal price, Judge Sullivan added. So Lord Blackwood is reporting his full cargo to our tax office, paying taxes on everything, but then secretly selling half to our enemies for huge profits. Marcus nodded. The extra money he makes from Frostholm more than makes up for the taxes he pays on goods he doesn't sell here. This is serious, Judge Sullivan said. We need to bring this to the Royal Council immediately. The next morning, Judge Sullivan and Marcus presented their findings to the council. 5 important people sat at a long table: the king's top advisor, the head of the royal treasury, the army general, the foreign minister, and the chief justice. These are very serious claims, said the king's advisor after hearing them out. Lord Blackwood has served the kingdom for 30 years. The evidence is clear, Judge Sullivan insisted. His ships are taking goods to Frostholm against the king's direct orders. We should arrest him right away, the army general said. No, the foreign minister cautioned. If we move too quickly, we might not catch everyone involved. This must be a larger operation. After much discussion, the council agreed on a plan. They would watch Lord Blackwood closely and track his next shipment all the way to Frostholm. Then they would have undeniable proof. Who will follow the ships? Asked the Chief Justice. It must be someone smart enough to gather evidence properly, but not someone who would be recognized as working for the crown. Everyone in the room looked at Marcus. Me? Marcus asked, surprised. You're perfect, said Judge Sullivan. You have legal training, so you know what evidence we need. But you're new to the court, so Blackwood's people won't know your face. But I'm not a spy, Marcus protested. I'm a guard and a clerk. You're also the only one who figured this out, the army general said. The kingdom needs you, son. Marcus thought about it. This would be dangerous. If Lord Blackwood's men caught him, he might not come back. But if Blackwood was really helping Frostholm, he was hurting the kingdom Marcus had sworn to protect. When do I leave? Marcus asked. 3 days later, Marcus stood on the docks wearing simple clothes like a regular dock worker. The army general had arranged a job for him loading boxes onto ships. This way, Marcus could watch Lord Blackwood's ships without anyone getting suspicious. Blue Star ship coming in, someone shouted. Marcus looked up to see a large ship with blue stars painted on its sails. This was one of Lord Blackwood's ships, the Star Chaser. Marcus worked hard all day, loading and unloading boxes from different ships. He kept his eyes on the Star Chaser. Men were bringing barrels of wine onto the ship. Marcus counted carefully. There were 2,000 barrels in total. When night came, most workers went home, but Marcus hid behind some big boxes on the dock. From there, he could see the Star Chaser clearly. Around midnight, a fancy carriage arrived at the dock. A tall man with gray hair and fine clothes stepped out. Marcus had seen Lord Blackwood's picture before. This was him. Lord Blackwood went onto the Star Chaser. After a while, he came back out with the ship's captain. They talked quietly, but Marcus was close enough to hear them. Everything is ready, the captain said. We'll stop at Westport tomorrow as planned. Half the wine will be unloaded there for the kingdom's records. Then we'll take the north route to Frostholm with the rest. Good, Lord Blackwood replied. Make sure no one follows you after Westport. The Frostholm payment will be waiting at the usual place. Marcus's heart beat faster. This was the proof they needed. Lord Blackwood was giving direct orders to take goods to Frostholm. After the Lord left, Marcus sneaked onto the ship. He found the cargo area and looked at the barrels. Each one had a secret mark, a small blue star that was hard to see unless you knew to look for it. Marcus took out a small knife and scraped off some of the blue paint from one star. He put the paint chips into a small bag as evidence. Then he drew a simple map showing where all the barrels were stored on the ship. The next morning, Marcus went to the port master's office. I need to see the official cargo list for the Star Chaser, he said, showing his court papers. The port master handed him a document. It said the Star Chaser was carrying 1,000 barrels of wine to Westport and nothing else. But Marcus had counted 2,000 barrels himself. He made a copy of the document and hid it in his boot. This was more proof of the lie. When the Star Chaser sailed away that afternoon, Marcus was ready. The army general had arranged for him to travel on a fast ship called the Seahawk. It was smaller than the Star Chaser and could follow from a distance without being seen. Remember, the captain of the Seahawk told Marcus, "We're just watching. We won't stop them until they actually enter Frostholm waters. Then we'll have proof they broke the king's law." For 2 days, the Seahawk followed the Star Chaser. Just as Lord Blackwood had said, the bigger ship stopped at Westport and unloaded half its wine barrels. Marcus watched through a spyglass as men carried 1,000 barrels off the ship. These would be recorded in the kingdom's books. The other 1,000 barrels stayed hidden in the bottom of the ship. After leaving Westport, the Star Chaser turned north, not east toward the normal trade routes, but north toward Frostholm. "Now we have them," the Seahawk's captain said. "No honest trader goes north from Westport." They followed the Star Chaser for another day. The waters became cold, with small pieces of ice floating on the surface. They were getting close to Frostholm. Then suddenly, 2 more ships appeared on the horizon. They also had blue stars on their sails. "That's not good," the Seahawk's captain said, looking worried. "We weren't expecting 3 ships. We're outnumbered." Before they could decide what to do, the 3 blue star ships changed course. They were now heading straight for the Seahawk. "They've spotted us," the captain said, "and they don't look friendly. They must have spies in the port who saw you asking questions," the Seahawk's captain said to Marcus. "We need to run." The captain ordered his men to turn the ship around and put up more sails. The Seahawk was smaller and faster than Lord Blackwood's ships, but 3 against 1 was bad odds. "What about the evidence?" Marcus asked. "We were supposed to catch them entering Frostholm waters." "We have your witness report of what you heard and saw," the captain said. "And we have your map and the paint chips. It will have to be enough. Right now, we need to get back alive." The Seahawk raced across the water, but Lord Blackwood's ships were gaining. Then Marcus had an idea. "Captain, does this ship have a royal flag?" "Yes, but we're not flying it. This is supposed to be a secret mission." "Put it up now," Marcus said. "If they attack a ship flying the royal flag, that's another serious crime." The captain nodded and gave the order. Soon, the kingdom's red and gold flag was flying high. But Lord Blackwood's ships kept coming. "They're not stopping," the captain said. Then they heard a loud boom. One of Lord Blackwood's ships had fired a cannon. The ball landed in the water near the Seahawk, sending up a big splash. "They're firing at a royal ship," one sailor shouted. "That's treason." "Keep going," the captain ordered. "Full speed to home waters." For hours, the chase continued. The Seahawk was fast, but Lord Blackwood's ships stayed close behind, firing cannons from time to time. None hit directly, but some came very close. As night fell, the captain had a new plan. "There's a thick fog coming in," he told Marcus. "We'll use it to hide. Put out all lights." In the darkness, with fog all around, the Seahawk changed direction. Instead of going straight back to the kingdom, they turned east toward a group of small islands. "We'll hide among the islands until morning," the captain explained. "By then, we'll be too close to home for them to attack us." The plan worked. When morning came, Lord Blackwood's ships were nowhere to be seen. The Seahawk sailed safely back to the kingdom's main port. As soon as they arrived, Marcus took his evidence straight to Judge Sullivan. He told her everything: the secret meeting at night, the extra barrels not on the official list, the blue star marks, and how Lord Blackwood's ships had chased and fired on a royal vessel. Judge Sullivan listened carefully, making notes. When Marcus finished, she looked very serious. "You've done well, Marcus. This is more than enough evidence. Lord Blackwood has committed treason in multiple ways: trading with Frostholm, lying on official documents, and attacking a royal ship." She gathered all the evidence and took Marcus with her to the royal palace. The king himself wanted to hear about Lord Blackwood's crimes. In the grand meeting hall, Marcus felt nervous. He had never been in the same room as the king before. But Judge Sullivan gave him a small nod, telling him to be brave. The king sat on his throne, looking stern as Marcus told his story again. When he mentioned how Lord Blackwood's ships had fired on the royal flag, the king's face turned red with anger. "This cannot stand," the king said when Marcus finished. "Lord Blackwood has betrayed our kingdom for money. He has helped our enemies and attacked our ships." The king turned to his guards. "Arrest Lord Blackwood immediately. He will stand trial for treason." Then the king looked at Marcus. "Young man, you have shown great courage. Few would risk their lives as you did to gather this evidence." Marcus bowed his head. "I was just doing my duty, Your Majesty." "Nevertheless," the king said, "such service deserves reward. I understand you have training in law." "Yes, Your Majesty." The king smiled. "Good, because I will need someone with legal knowledge to handle Lord Blackwood's trial, someone who knows all the details of his crimes." 1 month later, the Great Hall of Justice was packed with people. Everyone wanted to see Lord Blackwood's trial. The rich lord sat at a table with 3 expensive lawyers. He looked angry but also worried. On the other side of the room sat Marcus. The king had named him special prosecutor for this case. It was a big honor, but also a big challenge. Marcus had never led a trial before, especially not one so important. Judge Sullivan would decide the case. She sat high above everyone, wearing her formal black robes. Her face showed no emotion as she called the court to order. "Lord Blackwood is charged with treason against the crown," she announced. "Marcus Donovan will present the case against him." Marcus stood up, feeling all eyes on him. He had worked day and night preparing for this moment. Taking a deep breath, he began. "Lord Blackwood betrayed our kingdom in 3 ways," Marcus said clearly. "First, he traded with our enemies in Frostfoam during wartime. Second, he lied on official documents to hide his crimes. Third, he ordered his ships to attack a vessel flying the royal flag." One by one, Marcus showed his evidence. He called witnesses from the docks who had seen the extra barrels. He showed the port records that proved the lies. He presented the blue paint chips from the secret marks, and he had the Seahawks captain describe the attack. Lord Blackwood's lawyers tried to fight back. They said Marcus had no proof that Lord Blackwood himself knew about these things. They said the ship captains might have acted without his knowledge. Then Marcus played his strongest card. "I call Thomas Wells to testify," he announced. The court murmured in surprise as Thomas, the palace chef, walked to the front. Marcus smiled at him, remembering how this whole story had started with Thomas's mother and her letter. "Mr. Wells, please tell the court what you saw 3 months ago at Lord Blackwood's house," Marcus said. Thomas nodded. "I was serving food at a private dinner. Lord Blackwood was meeting with a man from Frostfoam. They didn't know I could hear them in the serving room. The man gave Lord Blackwood a bag of gold and thanked him for the wine shipments during the war." Lord Blackwood jumped to his feet. "He's lying. This is all a trick." "Silence," Judge Sullivan ordered. "You will have your chance to speak." But the damage was done. Everyone could see Lord Blackwood's guilt in his angry face and desperate eyes. After 4 days of trial, Judge Sullivan gave her decision. "The evidence is clear," she said. "Lord Blackwood is guilty of treason. He is sentenced to lose all his lands and money, and to spend 20 years in prison." As guards led Lord Blackwood away, the king approached Marcus. "You handled this case brilliantly," he said. "Judge Sullivan tells me you were once a royal guard who got in trouble for breaking protocol to help someone." "Yes, Your Majesty," Marcus said, surprised the king knew this story. "Sometimes breaking a small rule for the right reason leads to greater good," the king said. "If you hadn't helped that woman, you wouldn't have met Judge Sullivan. You wouldn't have become her clerk. You wouldn't have found the evidence against Lord Blackwood. And our kingdom would still be in danger." The king placed a hand on Marcus's shoulder. "I am creating a new position in my government, Royal Legal Advisor. someone who understands both the law and the practical matters of protecting the kingdom. I want you to fill this role." Marcus could hardly believe his ears. From a simple guard to the king's legal advisor in just a few months, all because he had chosen compassion over strict rules that day at the palace gate. 2 weeks later, Marcus stood in the grand hall of the palace for his official appointment ceremony. His old guard friends were there, including Robert. Thomas and his mother sat in a place of honor, and Judge Sullivan watched with a rare smile, proud of the man she had almost punished, but instead had helped find his true path. As the king placed the official seal of office around his neck, Marcus thought about the strange journey that had brought him here. Breaking that small rule had changed everything. Sometimes, he realized, true justice needs both firm rules and a compassionate heart. The end.